If you have your device for Kahoot, please open it up and put on the game pin number and go ahead and start answering the questions.
Oh, where I have to put
Like I
pin number and
said,
where?
they're very good questions, very interesting facts and information.
Where I put the pin number and where? Where's my slot, my place?
If you go to kahoots.it, Shanti, on your phone or a different screen, kahoots.it is going to ask you for the game pin, and then you can put the pin number, and then you'll be able to play.
I had to go to the Google to find the Kahoot app.
So you can just go kahoots.it. So instead of .com, it's .it.
Okay. Okay. Press it didn't go. Okay.
Marlon, is that QR code for the game?
Yes. So if you have an iPhone, you can do that as well.
I don't have iPhone. I have only Samsung and using on my laptop.
Laptop, okay.
Where is it press? Sinclair chui dịch mà nâng lại nó sẽ Kahoot IT now.
Let's try to have everybody, even Caroline, go for it. Let's see your.
My internet is a little
Kahoot
slow, so
game.
I'm gonna do it on my phone.
So there's 11 of us, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in Kahoot right now. We're waiting for 4 more. Shanti, can you Kahoot? Remember, it's www.kahoot.
I try to help him right now, Richard. Give me a minute.
All right, I guess let's start with this.
Richard, can we wait just a moment? Julia is helping Chanti to log on to Kahoot. Just wait one more minute.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
No worries. Okay. Evan, you'll learn something while you're listening as you're driving.
You have it.
Be careful,
Appreciate it.
Mr. Bowman.
Give me a minute, almost done. I'm almost get that for him.
Yeah, same for me.
0, 4,
Yeah, I'm downloading the app right now.
Chanti. Okay, Chanti got it.
There we go, Chanti.
Yeah, Chanti got it. Wait, let me help Sinclair.
Open. Next. Kahoot. Yeah. So okay, and then
I got it. Sinclair is
I think that's
working on it right now. Julia is helping. I haven't played this a long time. I don't know how to. What's that?
And then
pin.
pin. You have a pin.
One.
154
154
20
20
44
44. Okay.
and enter and put your name.
Okay, we're ready.
Almost.
Get it now. All right.
There we go. We're
Yeah,
ready.
okay.
Okay.
Everyone got it.
Okay, let's Kahoot, you guys. I mean, everybody, let's Kahoot.
Get ready. Okay.
Richard, are you going to read the questions?
The Stonewall riots took place in June of what year? So Stonewall riots are important to the history.
You want me to? Yeah, the Stonewall riots took place in June of what year?
I didn't get to click it. It's
Oh,
run
yeah.
fast. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Next
no.
one,
Very
Larry
cool.
Kramer founded which AIDS activist group?
Which is activist group?
Hmm.
Oh, but I can. Oh, you just click right here on your phone.
Oh, put it on a phone instead.
Mhm.
I click on my laptop, it didn't work.
It's AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, or AADAP.
Mhm.
PFLAG stands for what?
Oh my gosh. They're all, what?
No.
Parents, families, and friends of lesbian and gays.
Yes.
Question number 4. What ways does alcohol industry target the LGBTQ community?
Yeah, I got one right. So
Hey,
far.
pretty good, everybody.
Only one.
Try your best. When is National Coming Out Day in the United States?
Ooh. National Coming Out Day. Oh yeah, I got it right too. Good, awesome.
October 11.
That's my brother's birthday, October 11.
Which state became the first to legalize civil unions or the same-sex couples?
Oh, this will become the first to legalize civil unions as a couple. Hawaii, California, New York, New York. Wrong.
It is Vermont.
Vermont.
Surprising, huh?
Hello.
It was Vermont.
Oh.
What are unique health risks for LGBTQ plus people dealing with substance abuse? Again, this is very unique to the community. All of the above.
Hello. Hello nè. Con Zoom meeting. Con trong xu nghĩ đi tới mình ở đây hay phục hay con tập tới muốn được chăm bông tới đó kia.
Let's give Caroline a round of applause, everybody. I hope you had fun playing Cahoots and also learned something new about the LGBTQ community. Thank you, Marlon.
I had to close the window. I don't know. Was the Kahoot music playing?
No.
Oh, it's playing on my screen, so I had to take it off. Okay, so thank you everyone for participating. Congratulations, Caroline, for winning our game. We thought it would be a great way to kind of break the ice and share some history for Pride Month. But now we'll kind of talk a little bit about how the alcohol industry, or elaborate on how the alcohol industry targets the LGBTQ plus community. So does the industry support the community? It was kind of like the first question. So there's an article or there's something published from both GLAAD, which is it was formerly, I think they changed their name, the Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, and their partnership with Bud Light. So Bud Light has also posted this up about a partnership for 20 years. So it would seem like they would support. And then they would come out with bottles like this, you know, with the pride color flag. And they said they will donate $1 for each of the case sold. Then other alcohol brands also follow similar paths, just like Jim Beam, Smirnoff, Absolute, and you know they wanted to target and kind of be at these events, you know, where the gay consumers were. So they would sponsor events, TV shows, and also contribute to charities. So I mean, at first glance, it seems like the industry is supportive of these events, but once you kind of understand the history, like the Stonewall riots, kind of see that the alcohol industry knows the history very well, and they intend their targets and their ads very. They know exactly where they're spending their money. When I was researching for this, since it is Pride Month, on my Twitter, this ad to the left popped up from Absolute Vodka, and it says, "Beyond food and cocktails, LGBTQ plus bars offer a sense of belonging. They're a safe place where people can freely be their true self, learn more about the important role that LGBTQ plus bars play and how we can keep these places open." That sounds like a very supportive messages, but again, it kind of, again, they kind of feel like they twist like the history of the LGBTQ community and bars being safe places. So again, the Stonewall riots were at a bar called Stonewall, and that's a significant piece of history for the LGBTQ community here in the United States. And oftentimes these bars are safe places, right? They're safe places because people can be themselves. But also alcohol has a role in these places. So this is from a study, and this is one of the interviews and one of the quotes from the study saying that these queer spaces and alcohol's role in these spaces is, "I like how you're able to let go of yourself more and be free and show who you are." So I guess it's kind of like a stress relief, right? They get to be truly who they are without being judged. Because a lot of times, a lot of the members of the community say they use alcohol to cope from one way or another, cope with homophobia that maybe the society or specific communities are showing, discrimination, you know, whether at work or at school or whatnot, depression, stress, and other anxiety disorders. Maybe there's physical violence, many things that each have different experiences, but alcohol has been a coping mechanism for a lot of the community members. So these safe places, alcohol plays a role where they're, I guess, they can, you know, be relieved, be themselves, not be judged, right? Not be, you know, persecuted and so forth and so forth. So these alcohol industry know exactly these spaces are safe for this community. But what they also know is that up to 25% of the general LGBTQ plus community have moderate alcohol dependency, which is higher than the general population. So 5 to 10% of the general population, well, that's pretty redundant, but about 5 to 10%. So we're looking at a, what, 15% jump for the LGBTQ plus community on their alcohol dependency. And some of the subgroups are higher. So there's different subgroups. So not LGBT plus is not a monolith, right? It's lesbian, it's gays, transgendered, questioning, non-binary, etc., et cetera, et cetera. So these subgroups, some of the subgroups are even higher than 25%. So alcohol is something that is within the community. That's something that is abused upon. And again, the pursuit and the investment of money for the at these events, or you know, the alcohol industry looking, you know, to be supportive, right? But they're investing this money in advertisements to target this population. To the right, you know, is one of the quotes from the same study, which the study is called "Queer Youth Intoxication and Queer Drinking Spaces," and it says, yeah, alcohol was also viewed as important for its ability to lower inhibitions, allowing participants to feel freer to explore their desires, gender, and sexualities. And this is the role in these spaces that alcohol helps. The LGBTQ plus community also feel like they don't have the same access, general public, for help. So remember, if they're coping with homophobia, with anxiety disorders, and with depression, right? If they can't find other solutions or other ways to deal with those issues, this is why another reason why the alcohol dependency is higher in the LGBTQ plus community. Again, alcohol and pride festivals. This is a quote from another article, another research article, and it says tobacco and alcohol companies often focus on marginalized groups. LGBT people of color may be more aggressively targeted in multiple ways on the basis of their intersecting identities. One space that serves as a nexus between the LGBT identity, community, and norms is the Pride Parade and Festival. So here you see how the Smirnoff has this float at one of the Pride festivals and events. Bud Light, again, they have their on the flow, and it's like a free ad, right, at the Pride festivals. And it's just a t-shirt, right, just showing that alcohol is ever so present at these events. Shut up, liver, you're fine, you know, with the, again, the rainbow flag beers. So again, alcohol is present in a lot of these events. I think this article was the one that argues saying, you know, there's a lot of sexual health information at these events, but there's not a lot of public health when it comes to alcohol use at these events as well. You see more so of these, again, ads and so forth from the alcohol industry. And just real quick, you know, just to conclude this part of how the alcohol industry targets, COVID, you know, has also been relevant the last couple of years. And for oftentimes, it's also affected the community. So these spaces that were safe spaces are now closed, right? So if they don't have safe places and there's still alcohol dependency, a lot of LGBTQ plus students at the university level said they increased their binge drinking by 32%. A lot of them that, you know what, again, it's COVID, things are shut down, there's online learning, and they go back home and it's not the most welcoming, whether it's your physical home, the people that are in your home, or the small towns or the communities where they're from. And again, alcohol was tend to cope with stress, anxiety, homophobia, et cetera, et cetera. So dealing with those issues and coming back where you might not be as welcome or have those safe spaces has also affected the community. So we shared that information that we found how, again, the alcohol industry targets these marginalized groups. They know the history very well, and that's where they invest a lot of their ads and money and time, especially for Pride Month events and festivals. So I'm gonna stop sharing here. We have a fantastic speaker. So let me do the proper introduction. We're gonna have a great conversation. So we have Caroline. Caroline is a new intern at AADAP and is almost halfway done with the Masters of Social Work. Congratulations, Caroline. We're rooting for you. Caroline uses she, her, and they, them pronouns interchangeably and identifies as non-binary and queer. They have over 5 years experience working in the helping professions with special focus of those affected by systematic oppression. She's excited to be working with AADAP for the next year as a counselor and soon starting a process group for the LGBTQ plus community in recovery at AADAP. And with that, we want to bring on Caroline. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so we do have a few questions, so I'll let Richard ask the first question to start the discussion.
Thank you, Marlon, for such an awesome introduction for our guest speaker today, Carolyn. And so our first question is, what does pride mean to you?
It's a great question. Pride to me means being able to be my fullest, truest self. I feel like I am in a space with people at these events where I don't feel like I have to hide who I am. And also I know that I can come across as sometimes people assume that I am straight and cisgender, and I don't mind, I get it, but it's nice being in queer spaces during Pride, especially because I don't feel that that's the automatic like assumption made of me. And you know, at like Pride events and stuff, I feel like people are really open to asking like, what are your pronouns? How do you identify, in a way that's super welcoming, and not necessarily like an interrogation or something to be questioned or dismissed. And so, yeah, I love being in community with people, getting to wear all my rainbow gear and just celebrating.
Sounds great. Thank you once more. And then my second question is, I know that there's a lot of youth out there and also other members in our community who might need help. So how can we help youth find resources and safe spaces?
Yeah, it's so important to me for youths to have access to information and community that has to deal with LGBTQ plus issues and celebrations. And, you know, we haven't always gotten to have that because a lot of the queer and trans elders didn't get to express themselves fully and weren't necessarily allowed to share our history. So now more than ever, I feel like it's so important to have resources for queer and trans youths. And so a favorite one of mine is the Trevor Project. And I'm hoping Marlon can share out the link. So they just have like every sort of resource for young people who are queer, questioning, trans, non-binary, any sort of identity in the community. And so it's a way for youths to reach out to counselors, to find events, and then they also have something called Trevor Space. And that's a way that youths can connect with other people their age, which I think is so comforting for youths because it may not be safe to be out where they live. And maybe that means that they don't get to meet a lot of other queer and trans individuals. But I think it's really helpful to be able to access these sorts of sites so that even if you can't go to in-person events or meet people in person who are out, you can meet them online. So I think that's a super helpful space for people to find community, because I think that I came out later in life because I feel like we hear a lot of stories of people, being like, I knew I was queer since I was 5 years old or something. It's not something that I realized until I was in my 20s, because I didn't see, I knew I had a gay uncle, I had a lesbian aunt, and that was about it, but it wasn't talked about. It was kind of hush hush, not because my family was embarrassed, but it just wasn't seen as something that was up for discussion. And sometimes I wonder if I had seen more like TV shows with queer and trans people, or had gotten to know more about my uncle and my aunt's like experiences growing up, then I would have understood my identity sooner. And then another resource is the LA LGBT Center, which I think Marlon's going to put in the chat also. They have so many great resources just for LGBTQ individuals in general, but they have that link specifically is for helping youths. And I just know, I actually have a couple of friends who have worked there as clinicians, and it's in the name, like LGBT Center.
Speaking. She's speaking, Richard.
Okay, I can't tell. My internet's slow, so I don't know. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, it's a long-winded answer, but I just wanted to say the LGBT Center, it's in the name, like they are specifically there for resources that are specific to people in the community, because as we saw in the presentation, people in the LGBTQ plus community face substance use disorders in a different way than our heterosexual and cisgender peers. It's just, there's tons of research on it that we experience it at a higher rate than others. So I like that the LA LGBT Center knows how to have a therapeutic setting that focuses on people's identities and how that may affect their mental health issues or substance use disorders.
All right. No, thank you for sharing all these resources and information. Also, your story, definitely. That is profoundly eye-opening. So thanks again. And now we're Marlon has shared some resources on the chat, everyone. So please take a look at it and open it up. Now we're gonna move on to Marlon with some questions.
Yeah, I think we lost Caroline, but that's okay, because we have different partners here, different people I see from different communities. So while we hope to get Caroline back to finish the discussion, is there any other resources or safe spaces that you know of that's not mentioned, not the Trevor, besides the Trevor Project and the LGBT Center of Los Angeles? Does anybody know of any other projects or organizations or resources?
Yeah, I have someone, just Gregory. There's also the Mod Institute. It's an African-American organization in South Los Angeles. They focus on mental health, mental health and all of those components that we address specifically for people of color. And I know, they host events on how to, stay focused. Like Caroline was mentioning, there's so much stigma and discrimination against us. But this organization gives empowerment, and it's also a place where people feel safe and they can go, especially, for communities of color. We have the LGBT Center organization, but there's also people who may not be connected to the organization because of where they're located or things like that. Then there's also APIT, from what I remember, a good group that has some of those components that we're all trying to focus on. So yeah, there's a lot, but just touching upon what was said, I'm thinking more specifically regarding communities of color, specifically like myself, for on everything.
Yeah, and if you could write the names or the titles in the chat, that'd be fantastic.
So okay.
I'll get the resource. Yeah, and welcome back, Caroline. So.
Hi, sorry, my Wi-Fi has been, or the internet connection is a little spotty.
It's no worries, absolutely no worries. So we were just speaking of what other resources are available. So
awesome.
Yeah. So so glad that these resources are shared, because as you mentioned, the LGBTQ plus community, the numbers jump, but not just for the substance use. It's homeless, it's care, right? It's many things, and these spaces for youth are so important. But I guess my follow-up question would be, like, what are some protective factors, right? I know you said you wish you maybe would have seen more in media or hear more of your uncle or aunt's experiences, but what are some protective factors for the LGBTQ plus youth and community? So I don't know if it's safe spaces or specific programs, or acknowledging pronouns, right? That is no matter. So please share what you.
Yeah, I think all of the above is really important, and definitely like safe spaces and just community events that are geared towards LGBTQ plus youth that don't center around alcohol, because I know it's Pride Month. I've been going to a ton of Pride events, I did notice at one of them, they had a section that was specifically for like a substance use free zone. Like there was no substance use in that area. And they had all these different booths that had like fun games and stuff, but also like educational resources. And that was so special to me because I think for a lot of people, pride parties are synonymous with drinking and using. And I'm like, there's got to be spaces where it's completely not about that. It's just about having good, clean fun and just celebrating. And I just think there's so much like fun to be had without substances, and we can be our true selves without substances. And I know that that, you know, easier said than done, but, you know, and then also at that same event across the way, there was a row of booths that were promoting different stores that sold marijuana. So that was a little, I was like, oh, why do they have to be right across the beach? I know, Gregory, I see your reaction. So that was a little bit like, oh, we almost got there. But, you know, all these events happen primarily during Pride Month, but I want to see more events that are monthly, weekly, whatever. And I'm actually currently compiling, I've been working on it all day, been compiling a list of different websites, books, social media gatherings that are either like online or in the LA area, because again, it's just so important for LGBTQ plus youth and adults to be able to have these spaces where it's not just contained to Pride Month, you know. Yeah. It's like, here's this local coffee shop that I know is like super into LGBTQ plus rights, and they welcome everyone, and I don't have to hide myself. Like that's important too. So community to me is everything. There's a quote that I love, that the opposite of addiction is connection. And I think about that all the time, because we want to think the opposite of addiction is sobriety, and it is, but that includes also emotional sobriety to me. And that means having like wholesome, authentic connections with people. And so just being able to do that for youths is so important. And then I also think of when I was a kid, I thought I was an ally, but turns out I was actually part of the community. But when I was in high school, I was part of the Gay Straight Alliance. And things like that are really special. And I used to work in education. I worked in a K-5 school, and I founded the Pride Parade that we had at the school. And it was like, it was so special. And I just wanted to, we had a big focus at the school that every month, you know, we have different celebrations. And because we wanted to focus on, you know, a lot of people, when it comes to celebrating Black History Month, it's like, yes, history is important, but let's celebrate Black joy and Black excellence. That was our theme for this past year, or last year. Because, and I think it's the same with the LGBTQ plus celebrating Pride Parade. Yes, it's important to understand discrimination, but also we have enough of that in the world. We see what's going on in the news. We know how dire it is, and we're working to fix it, but also let's celebrate. Let's talk about all the influential people from our history, and let's wear our rainbow regalia and stuff, because it's fun. So those, I think, just having those spaces in schools, since that's where the most youths spend the majority of their time, I think is really helpful.
Good examples that you were giving, right? And I agree. It's something that is year round. A lot of times, kind of like the quote says, that they target marginalized groups, right? And get a month, but you know, it's something that we need year-round representation, resources, spaces, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you so much for sharing that. I just have a follow-up question before we open it kind of to the audience. is why are protective factors so important to keep youth from substance abuse? So you can use the examples you were sharing.
Yeah, it's just something that keeps people safe, keeps them on a track to living their most authentic life and a life that they're proud of. I think a lot, there's a clinician I really admire who's like the founder of DBT, which is a form of therapy, who talks a lot about making a life worth living. And I forget where I was going with that, but it's one of my favorite. That's how I like to think of my values, is like, is this something that will create a life worth living for myself? And with substance use, that's typically not the answer for a lot of people, especially our friends here at AADAP. And so I just think we got to work on things that keep us safe, and substance use is not really, it's not going to keep us safe. And then protective factors, just a big one, just to bring it up again, is always community. That's why I'm forming an LGBTQ plus processing group here at the AADAP outpatient program, adult outpatient program, because we need to be around people who share our identity. I didn't know that I needed an like LGBTQ plus community until I started going to a ton of events like a few years ago. And I was like, what have I been missing my whole life? Like, this is where, because I just thought, well, a lot of my friends are part of the community, so I'm around it a lot, but nothing compares to being able to go to like events and be part of social media things and going to businesses that really celebrate people in the LGBTQ plus community. So that's the greatest thing. That's the greatest gift I've given to myself, is being part of these communities and going out and meeting people who have a similar identity to me. So I think that's really important for everyone. And I hope that the resources we listed can help people to find community. And I'm also hoping to share out my list is not done yet, but when it is, I'd love to send it out to everyone so that they can find even more resources.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for being here and taking in our questions. I don't know if you have any questions for us as an audience. For the audience members, if you have any questions or follow-ups or want to expand on anything, this is the time. So it's kind of an open discussion now. So whoever would like to speak and ask, feel free.
Yeah, I'm going to make a comment. You know, thinking about this whole, the alcohol situation, alcohol and all that. And I think for myself at 62, so I'm, one of the elders in the community, and how much I have seen this through the years, through prides, through, Black prides and other prides, and how these alcohol companies, they really poured into us because they know we had the capital. I think that's one of the things. They know we had the capital to spend the money. But also, going back to what you said, Caroline, going to the bars and places. And this is where our culture goes, because we don't have those fraternities or those other things that many organizations or many other, the straight people may have. So we go where we need to meet people, where we need to be embraced, to be to be embraced, to be loved. And now that COVID's, I don't go to bars anymore, but when I go past West Hollywood, it's like, oh my God, these bars are packed and everything. But then thinking when I was younger, I wasn't going because I was in a relationship and my partner, he doesn't drink. So I want to be respectful to him. But just thinking today, what happened this past weekends and all these alcohol companies and every beer, everything on how, and also they sell not just the alcohol, but sexuality. I really find that, a lot of these people that, they hire muscles and this and that and all that stuff. So they sell alcohol and sex. And we both know how those two coalitions, work together. But it's just it's a mixed bag. And I just wish that, they would do better, instead of just throwing out those coins to us. Let's do some stuff about prevention. Let's, let's work on homelessness for our communities, our sisters and brothers, and all of that. So yeah, when it comes down to this here, it's like, I'm a little frazzled with that, but yeah, it's a history of things, going back 20, 30 years and going back to Stonewall. My God, think about that from what I heard and all of those things and what they were just doing beer a lot, Miller's and Budweiser and all that. And everything. But yeah, it's just interesting how these companies want to exploit us. But really, let's call them to the carpet. Mhm. Yeah.
That's a great point. That reminded me what you said, Gregory, is I feel like every Pride event I go to, there's a lot of focus on sexual health, which is awesome. There are booths that handing out condoms, explaining about STIs and HIV prevention. And recently I'm like, let's put that same effort into like public health, for example, substance use disorders, because the one event I went to that did have that sober area and had some booths for like 12 stuff, that's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. And I've been going to Pride events for years. So I'm like, okay, yes, let's keep educating on sexual health, but also it's like we're missing something. Like there's other health risks that are specific to our community that we need to.
Right. Yeah, truly. Yeah.
To Gregory, appreciate you sharing out. And anybody else, again, questions, you just want to add to the discussion, feel free. We don't want to cut the conversation short, so feel free to ask any questions.
You can type it down on the chat box too if you'd like. I could always read what you type.
And yeah, thank you, Gregory, Tiffany, for adding some of the resources. Shanti, the chat.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. That is great. So thank you. So now we have more. And maybe if Carolyn doesn't have it on her list, they can add it as well.
Actually,
you go.
I was just going to say another thing I think about a lot with this issue is the idea of rainbow capitalism, and a lot of companies will use this month to slap a rainbow on their logo.
Okay.
While at the same time, they're donating to anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, like politicians and stuff like that. So often it's so fake, and it's just about the money. And of course, yeah, if I see a rainbow Bud Light bottle, that gives me more incentive to buy it because rainbow, yay. But it's really it's all about money. And then they take that money and stab us in the back by promoting and donating to politicians and causes that are against LGBTQ plus individuals.
And not just alcohol, but also, smoking, cigarette smoking, I see is going up. And then when you just mentioned about the marijuana dispensers, I was like, dang, okay, really? Even I know it's a free state and all that, I have no qualms with it. But, actually having it out there is just showing what they're looking for profit, I think. And they know that we have the capital for this profit. And yeah, it's just, there's just a lot of, also, I think there's also a lot of pain in our community among many of us that we have. So we use the alcohol to escape, or the drugs and everything. And it's just challenging, especially with our new groups coming in, the teens that I'm seeing, they haven't seen the HIV epidemic that I have experienced. Or so they don't know, or, when they're doing the drugs and stuff, how it's all changing. Now we have meth and all these other things where, back in the day, it was just one thing, but now we have a rainbow of different drugs. I hate to use that term, not rainbow, but a melting pot of different drugs. And, you put that with alcohol, and it's like, wow, it's a lot for us. And it's hard.
Okay, Gregory, we do have one question. The question is, the statement that Chanti made, I know gay right marriage in Hawaii. How about in California? Is there gay right marriage in California?
Yes. And I believe, yeah, it's all 50 states ever since 2015. I remember
Right.
clearly when that was passed and what a celebration that was. So, like I said, there are politicians who are very anti-LGBTQ, and we've seen in the news that they're trying to make moves to make our lives illegal. So I do feel like it's something we have to protect and continue to educate about and to promote acceptance.
I think it goes back to a lot what you were saying before, Caroline, that community, right? Educate the community. We find a community that supports each other. You know, it's community. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that sentiment and that quote, right? All in this together, right?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or something you want to share? Anything else? If not, then we'll start wrapping it up. Yeah, thank you, Shanti. So all right, so let me share my screen. We'll start wrapping it up. With the guest speaker, with the Q&A. Here is our contact information. Caroline, I didn't ask you prior. If you would like to share your contact information, I think you can write it in the chat. This is just for our unit. This is Richard and I. Again, my name is Martin Pascual. This is some of the social medias that we handle for our respective city efforts and prevention. And then this is the rest of our teamers at the bottom and the different pages that our team and our agency operates. So we want to thank everybody for coming and participating today. Thank you, Caroline, for making the time. Much appreciated. And yeah, that's pretty much it. No one has, thank you for sharing your email. The email is, if you would like to follow up. Thank you. We'll say bye to everyone on the Facebook Live and YouTube.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. Right.